It was 1885 when the New York Times published a report from Buncombe County, North Carolina, that most readers folded into the back of the paper and tried not to think about at bedtime. A man named Jenkins has been buried for several days. His family is troubled, not by anything they can name. There is no evidence, no specific concern, just the particular unease that settles into certain people after certain deaths and will not resolve itself into ordinary grief. They request that the grave be opened. The request is unusual. It is granted. The coffin comes up. The lid is removed. Jenkins is face down. He was buried face up. The lining of the coffin around his head is torn. Not torn by rot, not torn by the weight of the earth above, torn from the inside, by hands pulling at the fabric in the dark. His hair is gone in patches, pulled out at the roots. On the wood of the lid above where his face would have been, there are scratch marks. Long, deep scratches from fingernails. He was alive when they put him in the ground. He woke up. Think about what those scratch marks mean. He did not go quietly. He did not accept it. He woke up in absolute darkness with no way to know how deep he was. No way to know if anyone was above him. No way to know if the scratching was doing anything at all. He scratched anyway. He scratched until he couldn't. In the 1800s, this is not an isolated fear. It is not even an uncommon one. The science of determining death is imprecise in ways that the century has already demonstrated. People recover from states that look to the available medicine indistinguishable from death. They return from fevers, from cataleptic episodes, from conditions that stop the breathing and slow the pulse to nothing for hours or days before the body reasserts itself. The problem is that some of them return after the burial. George Washington understands this. He is a man who has seen enough in his life to take seriously the things that cannot be managed by will alone. On his deathbed, in December 1799, he calls his secretary to him and gives a specific instruction. He says, "Do not put me in the vault in less than 3 days after I am dead." He has seen what can happen. He is afraid of one thing specifically, not death, which he has been close to many times, and which he appears to regard with something approaching equanimity. He is afraid of waking up. He is buried 3 days after his death. Anna Hochwaldt's case comes later, and it is worse in the way that the details are worse. Not just the fact of it, but the evidence of how long she was conscious before she stopped. Her family grieves in the ordinary way. They sit with her. They dress her. They hold the service, and they lower the coffin, and they go home and they try to begin the work of continuing without her. Something keeps bothering one of them. A brother, some accounts say. A feeling he cannot put into words. Not evidence, not logic. Just the specific dread that attaches itself to certain deaths and will not let go. He pushes for the exhumation. She is buried in Ohio following what appears to be a natural death. The family, like Jenkins's family, is troubled in the days afterward. Something does not settle. She is exhumed. Her body has turned over in the coffin. Her fingers have been bitten. Her own fingers bitten through to the bone in the dark, in the way that people bite down on something when there is nothing else to hold on to. Her hands are full of her own hair. The hair is in clumps, pulled from her own head with her own fists, and she is holding it still, the way a person holds something they grabbed and never had the chance to put down. She was alive for long enough to do all of that. There is a French term for the fear of being buried alive: tapophobia. It has a name because it has enough sufferers to require one. Edgar Allan Poe writes about it. Chopin requests that his heart be removed from his body before burial. He is terrified of waking up in the coffin, and he knows that a body without its heart will not wake. His heart is removed and buried separately in Warsaw. He understands something about certainty, about the difference between probably dead and definitely dead. In a century when medicine cannot always tell the difference, certainty requires a specific kind of proof. The 1800s respond to this fear with invention. Safety coffins appear, designs with strings attached to bells above ground, with breathing tubes, with mechanisms that allow a person who wakes underground to signal, to call for help, to make the earth above them ring. Coffin companies advertise their safety features. People request specific precautions in their wills. The fear is widespread enough to have a name, to have a market, to have an entire industry of reassurance built around it. The reassurance does not fully work. There is a reason for that. The fear is not irrational. It is not a fear of something that cannot happen. It is a fear with evidence behind it. Scratch marks on wood, turned bodies, bitten fingers, specific requests from specific people who had thought carefully about what they were afraid of. It is a fear of something that has happened. More than once. More often than the records show, because most of the records required someone to open the box. Jenkins woke up in his coffin in Buncombe County in 1885 and spent his last hours in absolute dark with 6 feet of North Carolina soil above him, scratching at the lid of a box that did not open. Anna Hockwalt woke up in Ohio and held on to her own hair in the dark until she couldn't anymore. George Washington lay in his bed and felt his body failing and thought about the vault at Mount Vernon and told his secretary 3 days, not 2. 3. He was afraid of waking up somewhere he could not get out of. He was afraid of the dark inside a box and the soil above it, and the silence and the scratch marks on the lid that nobody would find for days. He had reason to be. The scratch marks are still the part that does not leave you. Not the darkness, not the depth, not even the knowing that no one is coming. The scratch marks, because they mean he tried. He was in the worst possible situation a person can be in, and he scratched at the lid. He did not stop until he had to. We know this because someone opened the box and looked inside. Most of the boxes were never opened. Most of the scratch marks were never found. How did this story hit you? Drop it in the comments. Subscribe to Hollow Fears to unlock the next file. It was 1930 in Key West, Florida, when Carl Tanzler first saw Elena de Hoyos. He is a German-born radiologist working at the local marine hospital. He is in his 50s. Elena is in her 20s, dark-haired, the kind of beautiful that stops a room. She comes to the hospital because she is sick, tuberculosis, which in 1930 is still a death sentence in most cases. Tanzler treats her. He also falls in love with her. Not quietly, not appropriately. He brings her gifts, jewelry, flowers, dresses. He tells her that he has dreamed of her his entire life, that he recognized her the moment she walked in, that she is the woman he was destined to meet. Elena is polite. She accepts his gifts. She does not love him back. In 1931, Elena de Hoyos dies. She is 29 years old. Tanzler pays for her funeral. He commissions an elaborate above-ground mausoleum for her in the cemetery. the kind of structure that costs more than most people in Key West spend on a house. He visits the mausoleum every night. He sits with her. He brings flowers. He talks to her through the sealed door. This goes on for 2 years. In 1933, Tanzler removes Elena from her tomb. He does it at night, alone. He loads her body into a toy wagon and wheels it through the streets of Key West to his home on Flagler Avenue. He carries her inside. What happens over the next 7 years is documented, because eventually someone opens the door and sees it, and what they see requires documentation. Elena's body is doing what bodies do, what time does to all of us, given enough of it. Tanzler watches this happen, and he does not accept it. He does not accept it the way some people don't accept the death itself, with grief, with the passage of time, with a gradual return to the world. He doesn't accept it as a fact. He decides to fix it. He rebuilds her. He replaces her eyes with glass ones. When her skin can no longer hold its shape, he wraps her in cloth soaked in preserving agents, then covers the cloth with plaster of Paris, then with a layer of wax. He builds her a new face. He makes a wig from her own hair he had collected from her brush when she was alive, hair he kept all these years. He dresses her in the dresses he kept buying over the years. All those dresses, still in their wrappers, waiting for her. He douses her in perfume, heavy, sweet, enough to fill every room in the house, enough that the smell drifts out under the doors and through the windows, enough to mask the smell of what he will not name. He plays music for her on the evenings when the house is quiet. He sleeps next to her. He plays music for her. He dances with her. He builds a life inside that house on Flagler Avenue, organized entirely around a dead woman he has reconstructed from memory and refusal. Elena's family grieves. Her mother, her sister Nana, they visit the mausoleum. They bring flowers. They do not know that the mausoleum is empty. They sit in front of a sealed door and speak to a woman who is no longer inside. Tanzler has her. He has had her for months, then years. He passes them on the street sometimes. Elena's family, people who loved her, and says hello. He is known in the community as the man who adored Elena, who paid for her tomb, who mourns her publicly and visibly. He goes home to her every night. The neighbors notice the smell. They notice that Carl Tanzler rarely comes out. They know about Elena. Key West is a small community, and everyone knows about Carl Tanzler's obsession, has known about it since Elena was alive, and he was bringing her gifts at the hospital. They have talked about it the way small communities talk about things they don't know what to do with. No one goes to the door. For 7 years, no one goes to the door. In 1940, Elena's sister Nana hears something. A rumor, a comment, something that gets back to her, that prompts her to go to Tanzler's house. She knocks on the door. Tanzler lets her in. Nana sees her sister. What she sees is not Elena. It is a construction. Glass eyes, waxed skin, a wig made from Elena's actual hair, dressed in one of the many dresses Tanzler bought over the years. It looks like something that is trying to be Elena. It looks like the work of a man who loved someone so completely that when she died, he simply refused to let the fact of it be true. Nana calls the police. Tanzler is arrested. He is charged with grave robbing. The charges are eventually dropped on a technicality. The statute of limitations has run out. The people of Key West have complicated feelings about what to do with Carl Tanzler. Some of them are horrified. Some of them, quietly, find something in his obsession that they recognize. Not the act itself, but the refusal beneath it. The refusal to accept that the person you love is gone. The refusal to let the world continue normally when something irreplaceable has been removed from it. They do not say this out loud. They say it is disturbing and wrong and he should be punished. He is not punished. He writes about Elena later, in memoirs, in the way people write about great loves. He says he kept her because he could not stand to lose her. He says the years in the house on Flagler Avenue were years of devotion. He says he did not see anything wrong. He says, I loved her. He means it. That is the part that is hardest to sit with. He is not performing. He is not being ironic. He loved Elena de Hoyos with a completeness that overwhelmed every boundary between love and possession, between devotion and violation, between the person he loved and the idea of her that he had built in his own mind. He loved the idea of her so much that he remade her when she died, and called that love. Elena de Hoyos is reburied. Her family does not tell anyone where. They do not put her name on the new marker. They do not want him to find her again. Karl Tanzler dies in 1952. He is found in his home, in the arms of a life-size effigy of Elena, one he has spent his final years constructing to replace her, as close to her as he could make it, dressed in her clothes, wearing her face. He is still holding on when they find him. Elena de Hoyos died in 1931. She was 29 years old. She never asked for any of it. She never had the chance to ask him to stop. How did this story hit you? Drop it in the comments. And subscribe to Hollow Fears to unlock the next file. We are a brand new channel, so we really need your support. Stick around and make sure to subscribe. It was the night of June 9th, 1912, in Villisca, Iowa, a town of about 2,000 people in the southwest corner of the state. The Moore family goes to bed. Josiah Moore is 43 years old. His wife Sarah is 39. Their 4 children, Herman, Mary, Arthur, and Paul, are 11, 10, 7, and 5. 2 of the children's friends, Lena and Ina Stillinger, are sleeping over. The house is full the way a house is full on a summer night, when children have been running around all day, and everyone is tired and the windows are open, and the town outside is quiet. 8 people go to sleep. The summer night settles over Villisca. The other houses on the street go dark one by one. The town gets quiet in the way small Iowa towns get quiet in the summer. Completely, without residue. The kind of quiet that feels like safety. None of them wake up. In the morning, a neighbor notices that the Moore house is still closed up. The curtains drawn. No one coming out to start the day. She tries the door. It is locked from the outside. She calls the police. What the officers find inside is a scene that has been composed. Josiah and Sarah are in their bed. The 4 Moore children are in their beds. Lena and Ina Stillinger are on a downstairs bed. All 8 of them have been struck with an axe, the same axe found in the downstairs room, while they slept. The medical examiner will later estimate that none of them had time to wake before the first blow. They did not know. But the killer stayed. After the last blow, someone moved through the house deliberately. Every mirror in the house has been covered, with clothing, with sheets, with whatever was available. Every window has been closed and latched. The ceilings above each bed are gouged with the ceiling, left by the backswing of the axe on each downstroke. In the downstairs room, a plate of food has been left on a table, uneaten. A piece of a key is on the floor. A piece of bacon is in the wash basin. The killer was in this house for a long time after the last person died. Not leaving, not panicking. Moving through the rooms, covering the mirrors, closing the windows, existing in the house with 8 bodies in it, as if this was a place they intended to stay for a while. Then they went out the front door and locked it behind them. The axe belongs to Josiah Moore. It was found in the downstairs room, cleaned. Not perfectly clean. There is still material on it, but cleaned the way you clean something when you have time and intention. Think about what the covered mirrors mean. There are theories that the killer did not want to see their own reflection, that the covering was ritual, that it meant something specific to whoever did this. None of the theories have been proven. None of them have been eliminated. What is certain is that someone took time to do it. After 8 people were dead before leaving, they walked through each room and covered each mirror. They were not rushed. They were not afraid of being caught in the act. They moved through the house with a calm that belongs to a person who feels at home in it, who is in no hurry, who is doing something they feel is necessary. What they felt was necessary has never been explained. The town of Villisca does not recover from this in any normal sense. A community of 2,000 people does not have the resources to absorb what happened in that house and continue as if the house is just a house. People leave. Properties lose value. The particular silence that settles over a place where something like this happened, a silence that is not the same as ordinary quiet, settles over Villisca and stays. Suspects accumulate over the years. A traveling minister named Lynn George Jacqueline Kelly confesses twice and retracts twice. A senator's aide, a drifter, a man with a history of violence in other towns. Names that investigators return to and then set aside. 2 trials produced no conviction. The 2 Stillinger girls, Lena and Ina, were not Moore children. They had simply been invited to sleep over, the way children are invited to sleep over. Because it was summer and they were friends with the Moore kids, and there was no reason not to. They were 12 and 8 years old. They were in the wrong house on the wrong night. Their parents buried them and tried to understand a thing that has no bottom to it. That their daughters died not because of anything, not because of any connection to the Moore family or any reason that could be identified, but because they happened to be there. The case is never solved. The house on East 2nd Street in Villisca is still standing. It has been restored to its 1912 appearance. The furniture, the wallpaper, the layout of the rooms. The beds are where the beds were. The downstairs room is where the downstairs room was. People rent it for overnight stays. They know what happened there. That is why they come. They book it weeks in advance, and they drive to Villisca, and they park on East 2nd Street, and they carry their bags inside, and they walk through the rooms in the daylight first, getting their bearings, telling themselves that a house is just a house. They come from other states. They book it weeks in advance. They bring equipment, or they come with nothing, and they sleep in the house where 8 people were killed in their beds on a June night in 1912. Some of them report nothing. Some of them report that the house at night has a specific quality that they cannot describe well in the daylight afterward. A weight in the air. A feeling in certain rooms that the room is not empty, that something is present that was present before you arrived and will be present after you leave. The mirrors in the house are uncovered now. The windows can be opened. The front door locks from the inside. None of that changes what the house remembers. Someone stood in those rooms in the dark on the night of June 9th, 1912, with 8 people dead around them, and covered the mirrors, and closed the windows, and was in no hurry. They have never been found. They have never been named. But the house is still there, and on certain nights, the people who sleep in it say the dark inside it feels different from the dark anywhere else, like something is still deciding whether to leave. How did these 3 stories hit you? Drop a comment below and tell us. What kind of cases do you want to hear next? If you're still here, subscribe to Hollow Fears. New cases every day.